Hi, I'm Jennifer Ferguson, owner of Artistic Painting Studio, and today I am doing this quick little video so I can show you a fun project of working with my decorative art rollers and the American paint, chalk clay, and mineral paints. So I'm going to actually do a little frame project here that I've got laid out, and I'm going to show you how I apply the paint, roll through it, and create this wonderful pattern that is a chrysanthemum roller, and then also show you how to finish it out and distress it. So I'm going to change my camera angle here in a second so that you can see more of what I'm doing down here and a better close-up instead of just seeing me talk. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I'm going to show you a really fun project with using just chalk paints, which is the American Paint Company brand, to create this fun project using, like I said, the chrysanthemum roller. So this is just a really pretty floral print. And I'm using Shoreline, which is the color I'm going to paint and actually do the rolling through. But I did put down Home Plate first. Home Plate is just a real soft, creamy off-white. And I even came back and did a little distressing, so some of the wood tone is even coming through. So you can decide, you know, how much distressing you want to do. And I'm going to brush this on, and I'm only going to paint the top section here. I'm not going to worry about the sides and all the other detail area until I have the roller going through it. So want the paint to stay wet long enough so that I can come through and create the pattern. And I do like the paint to set up a little bit before I actually roll through it. And I'm putting on a nice heavy coat, okay? I'm not being cheap with the paint here right now. I'm brushing on a nice coat of it. So I want to have something that the roller can actually print through, because this is what I call a negative technique. So you're rolling through the paint and removing it to expose the color underneath. Now the rollers can be a little tricky. Sometimes they actually want to slide, so letting the paint set up a little bit is actually not a bad idea. And if you slide, it's not that bad. You just roll back or brush right back through it again. So I'm going to roll through this area here, and I'm getting a nice little print. Now if I want to get more of the pattern kind of in there, I can even come to the side and get a little bit more of the pattern. And then I'm just going to turn this for a better angle for me to roll. And then turn this so I'm not overlapping too much. And roll through this again. So you can see it's taking off the paint and we're getting this beautiful floral print. And like I said, any place where I didn't get a lot of pattern here, some will use the other edge and just get a little bit more print. Now, I did get a slide, which I'm glad, because now you can see how easy this is. And I'm just going to wipe out some of that I've rolled through and kind of determine where about I stopped on the pattern itself, and then just roll back through again. And actually I got more print that time, so that's great. Now I'll just set my roller aside, and I'm actually on rosin paper here, which is great because you can roll off some of the paint so that the roller will pick up more of it again. And then I'm just going to continue to brush out my frame. And I am staying with the grain of the wood. It's just a habit of always painting in that style. So I'm not going against the grain, I'm going with the grain. And let me brush off this one more section. Don't you just love this color though? Shoreline is one of my favorites. And I do like to have a really strong contrast when I'm doing this, so that even if the roller doesn't remove a ton of paint, you can still see the pattern really well. So the less contrast between the colors, the more subtle it will be. Move this so I got a better angle. And okay, now we're completely wet here. I'm trying to find some place to hold on. And just roll right through. Oh, that came out awesome. And I'm turning here again so I've got a better angle for rolling. little slide right at the beginning of it, but I think I'm going to keep going because it's rolling really well. And then I'm just going to brush out that section and roll back through there. Oh, it keeps wanting to slide. Okay, so let's try that again. Don't you love seeing that things just happen? You know, if it doesn't go perfect the first time, just do it again. It's not a big deal. There we go. And I'm going to roll through that again just so I get a little extra print. And anywhere where it seems like you don't have a lot of the pattern, you can just go ahead and roll another section of the roller through that. Sometimes I've even gone through and rolled double so that it's kind of being a little bit busier. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and finish painting out the rest of the sides on the frame, let it thoroughly dry, and then I'll come back and distress it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, let it dry, and I'll come back and show you the rest of the project. So stay tuned. So when I started to show you guys my distressing technique with using cheesecloth, discovered that the video had quit recording, and I actually had finished the entire frame not knowing that the video recorder had quit. So I made this small little sample duplicating what I had already done so that I could show you my distressing technique once again. I like using cheesecloth because it has some texture to it, and I think that just helps to give it a little bit of a bite so it pulls the paint off easier. For the most controlled technique, I like to just take a water bottle or squirt bottle for water, okay, and just squirt it directly onto the cheesecloth, and then I can just wet the surface and then come back and do a little rubbing. Once the water kind of soaks in, I think it helps to allow you to come back and remove some paint without having to be really aggressive. The other little thing that I'll do is if I've got a really big surface and I don't want to be real patient about it, I will actually just squirt the whole surface like that and let the water soak in, and then I can come back and I can start concentrating on where I want to remove the paint and distress and expose the prior layer. Also, because when you're using the decorative rollers and you're rolling through the paint, not only does it remove the paint, but it will peak it up so that you'll have a little bit of a rough touch. So not only am I coming in and distressing, but I'm also kind of doing what I call a wet sanding technique to smooth all that out. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish doing some distressing on this, wet sanding, and taking it down to the look that I did on the actual frame. Just so that you can see that doesn't take too much time, but you know, you're always better to go at it slow and take less off to begin with. I mean, if you absolutely did take too much off, I don't think it's too big of a deal where you could always paint some more color back on. But I was looking for a really worn, aged look, so I've taken off quite a bit. And I like to take off edges and just kind of distress it. So this is about where I've gotten to on the actual project. And I'm going to put this aside so I can bring back out the actual frame that I was working on. And here I want to finish it out, and hopefully we don't run out of recording this time. And I'm going to do clear wax and then a dark wax on it just to give it some protection, and the dark wax is going to age it. There are a couple of ways that you can apply the wax, and again I'm using American Paint Company. My can has the older label on it. It's just because it doesn't go bad. I've been using this for quite a while. And I like to take the product and just use a stick to get it out of the can and then put it on like a foam plate. That way none of the product, none of the wax in there gets contaminated. And you can also even just use your wax brush and clean off the stick. So I will either use the wax brush, and this is a fabulous European wax brush. I sell these as well, or you can just stick with cheesecloth. It's another way for easy application. And with doing something that is such a flat surface, the cheesecloth is also a really good way of applying it. So you can just, I like to just swirl it on. I feel less is best with the waxing technique because you don't want to build it up thick. You just want a nice thin layer of the wax on there to protect. So I'm also going to demonstrate how I do it with cheesecloth. And like I said, when you've got a flat surface, I think the cheesecloth just actually goes a lot faster. So you can just wipe this on, and you can see where you've gone and you know that you actually haven't missed anything, because the wax is going to darken the color back to the intended color it's supposed to be. So as you can see, you know, the color is getting darker on here. So it's easy to tell, you know, if you've missed something. And I'm just going to go ahead and finish this out so you can watch me do this. Now, wax is just one option. There's also a top coat. If we didn't want to do a waxed finish, we can just apply the top coat to protect the paint from wearing off, and gives it just, you know, a different type of protection. So either way, whatever you're happiest with. If I was going to use top coat, then I'd probably come back and age it with glaze instead of doing dark wax. But you could also put the dark wax over the top coat. So I think it's just whatever is easiest for you and what you like to work with. I just wanted the soft, matte wax finish, because I'm not going to come back and buff, so I'm not going to shine it up. So I've got the clear wax on there, and now I'm just going to go directly over with the dark wax. Now I will always put down clear wax first before dark wax, because if you don't, then the dark wax can actually go really dark really fast. As long as you've got clear wax down first, you've got way more control on how dark you allow it to go. So I am going to start this, and I'm just going to use my same cheesecloth. You can see that it's picked up a little bit of color as I've been applying the wax, which that normally always happens. And then just depending on how dark you want to go. This is like a personal thing that, you know, everybody has a preference on how dark they want and how aged they want to do something. Now you see as I'm wiping back on here with a clean section of the cheesecloth, I'm almost removing all of it. So you do have control even though the wax, the clear wax, had just been applied. Now if you want to go darker, then I say just leave it on there a little bit longer. Don't come back and wipe off like I did right here. And I'm going to go ahead and wax the whole thing, and then I'm going to come back and maybe take some of it off so I can have a more variegated finish on this frame. And I'm hitting the edges as I'm going around so I don't have to come back and do that. Now I have a dark brush going here so that I can hit those corners. That's when cheesecloth doesn't always serve the best purpose, when you have to get into someplace tight like that. But you can really now see the difference on what the dark wax does to the finish. It really changes the color. So one thing I always do recommend, if you haven't played with different color combinations, or you haven't dark waxed a particular color before, I think it's really important to go ahead and make a sample piece, kind of like the little sample piece here that I did just to show the distressing technique, because that way if you test it on that surface and you don't like how dark it's going, You could even control it by mixing the clear and the dark together and just making a really subtle dark wax, which is another really fun trick to do. That way you can make just a really soft umber color. But like I said, I was going for something kind of weathered and really aged looking, so I'm going dark. Okay, well, I think I just about have everything waxed, and I am going to just pull now to a clean section, and that way I can pull off randomly where I want to variegate the finish. I don't want it just all dark. I want it to look more aged, so it should be light in some areas and dark in others. And that looks like about it. So this is definitely our finished product here. Like I said, I'm cutting a piece of chalkboard to go in here, and this will probably end up being hung in my office. I hope you've had fun watching this project. I hope you learned some stuff, and if you have any questions or need some additional help with your projects, please feel free to contact me at Artistic Painting Studio, and you can catch, I have a blog post which is Studio J Renee. You can link to that from the website, but feel free to contact me. Thank you for watching.